Many of us are curious, what does it look like to retire with $1 million, maybe a little bit more? For many of us, it's a goal that we have, and so what does that life in retirement look like? I've been a financial advisor for over 20 years. I've helped guide hundreds of families into retirement, so I've had a bird's eye look at this. And then I also want to talk about an article that recently came out in the Wall Street Journal because I think it tells an interesting story. The article is called, "Here's What a $1 million Retirement Looks Like in America." And they interview 4 couples, 4 individuals that have $1 million, a little bit more than $1 million. And what does their life look like? And I really have 4 key takeaways from that article. The first is, even with $1 million, we're going to have to be careful with our expenses. And if you've been able to save $1 million or more, you're currently careful with your expenses. And that's going to continue in retirement. It doesn't mean you're not going to have a great retirement, but it does mean that we're going to keep a watchful eye on our expenses. In fact, one of the couples was living in the New York City area, and they relocated to a less costly place. They had enough money to retire, but they could spend more money on things that meant more things to them. They were willing to move in order to have more money to spend on other things. So that's the first thing. If you've saved $1 million, you've been careful, that's likely going to continue in retirement. The second main takeaway is folks had additional sources of income, oftentimes had additional sources of income outside of just their retirement savings. For most of us, hopefully we can count on Social Security, but in one couple's case, they also had a pension of $1,000 a month. So you think about it, they interviewed 4 couples, one couple had a pension. It wasn't a huge pension, $1,000 a month, but it's still nice to have that money coming in. And that's kind of the U.S. average. It's fewer than a third of us have a pension. And most of those folks work for a municipality or a government. So it helps to have another source of income, whether that's Social Security, a pension. Some folks are going to have rental income, but that's another thing. And in one of these couples' cases, their Social Security between the couple was actually making $4,500 a month. So that's a really nice Social Security benefit. The average Social Security benefit, it changes in the U.S., but how does that compare to the average? The average is $1,907. So if they were both working, if they were both getting close to the average, let's call it $2,000 a month. So that would give them $4,000 a month. So the $4,500 means they were likely both working and probably had pretty decent salaries. And how does that compare? It depends. Social Security payment is going to depend on when you decide to retire. The average 62-year-old collecting Social Security is going to get a little under $1,300 a month. And the average 70-year-old is going to get a little over $2,000 a month. So if we retire at 62, we're going to get 70% of our full retirement age benefit, monthly benefit. So for most of us, that's 66 or 67 is our full retirement age. So at 62, we get 70% of that monthly benefit. And that's locked in for life, not the amount, but that you're going to continue to get that lower benefit. Likewise, for every year that you work past full retirement age, you're going to get an extra 8% for waiting and not taking that monthly benefit. And then that caps off at 124% of what your full retirement age would be at 70. So again, point number 2 is folks had other sources of income. Another common thread with these 4 couples in this article is they had little or no debt. And that's what I see with my clients as well. Being able to pay off as much debt as possible before you retire really gives you a lot of flexibility. I like to encourage people to try to be debt-free by the time they're 50. I know that's super hard. But at a minimum, if you can pay off as much of that debt as you can in your 50s, that gives you a lot of freedom. But if you're debt free and you're 50 years old and you've saved up money, now you have a lot of flexibility. So I know it's hard to do, but it's a worthy goal if you can do it. Okay, the next one, unfortunately, as the Wall Street Journal was interviewing these four couples, they saw the same thing that I've seen, which is, unfortunately, our health, when it begins to go, it's going to hinder our things that we can do, the things we can enjoy in retirement. And frankly, it can also be expensive, right? So it's a double whammy. You can't do the things that you wanted to do, and it's expensive. So my point there is, it's worth investing the time, it's worth investing our money to stay healthy as long as we can. You know, it's really easy to put off working out. It's really easy to not take the time to cook a healthy meal at home, to shop for healthy foods, to just go out and grab something quick and inexpensive to eat. But eventually that catches up with us. And it's usually when we're in our retirement age and we've worked all these years, we've sacrificed all these years, and now we want to go do the things that we've sacrificed for. So I want to encourage you to keep your health, to do what you can to invest in your health, because frankly, our health is much more important than the bank account, the balance in our retirement account. So let's do what we can to keep our health. Okay, the next thing, and this is kind of a bonus one for this video, and that is at least one of the couples had a part-time job. And in this case, this person had the part-time job because she enjoyed it, but also because that little bit of income was helpful for her. And I see that a lot, where people say, you know what, I'm no longer really working primarily for money, but it's okay. I'm willing to do a part-time job just to have something to do, get out of the home, feel connected, but not have all the stress of a full-time job. I said that was a bonus. Really, that wasn't the bonus. That was point number 4. The bonuses is this one here, and it's critically important because most of us do not have $1 million when we retire. In fact, the Federal Reserve does a survey every 3 years. It's called the Survey Consumer Finance. And it shows that the median, half the people do more, have more, half the people have less. The median 55 to 64-year-old has a net worth of $364,000. So that's the value of all of our bank accounts. That would include the value of our home if we have it. So most of us are far from $1 million. So the bonus point on this is, if you don't have $1 million, you can still catch up. In fact, one of the things I love about this Wall Street Journal article is they interviewed a woman who had a good paying job. She ended up retiring as the president of the university that she was working for. But when she was in her mid-50s, she was right at this point where the Survey Consumer Finance has people. She had $250,000 saved in retirement accounts. And her retirement advisor reached out to her and said, hey, you know, you need to start saving more money or you're primarily going to be living off of Social Security. And she said, you know what, she thought about that and said, you know what, that's not what I want. I want to be able to spend more money than what my Social Security is going to give me. So she started saving, and she started saving aggressively. And by the time she retired, about 10 years later, she had a little over $1 million. So we can do a lot in 10 years. So regardless of where you're at, you know, I want this video, I think the article is inspirational for all of us. We can catch up, and we can have a great retirement, but we need to start. And in this case, this woman's case, she was saving about 20 to 30% of her salary as she got close to retiring. So know that we can catch up. Know that no matter where we're at, we can put ourselves in a better situation by sacrificing a little bit today for tomorrow you. And speaking of sacrificing, I don't want you to sacrifice too much, and that's why I made this video here. 7 things to stop doing in your 50s and 60s to enjoy your journey more.